The Facebook attribution setting is something that most people don't even realize exists, and if they do, they give very little thought to it. However, it can have a huge impact on your campaign. So let's dive into what it is, where to find it, and what options are best for your campaigns. All right, so first things first, in terms of where to find it, let's go ahead and start creating a new campaign. I'm gonna just choose leads in this instance. It doesn't really matter what you choose right now. Manual setup. And I'm going to skip everything at the campaign level simply because I want to go to show you where this is. If you want a tutorial on how to set up a campaign from beginning to end, you can go ahead and check out this video right here. But anyway, most people don't notice this because they're putting together a campaign. Let's say, okay, great, I want a website right there. I want to maximize the number of conversions. I'm going to choose my lead event right here, lead, perfect. And then they kind of just keep on scrolling by. They set up their budget and so on and so forth. And you'll notice here that there's nothing here that says or talks about any kind of attribution setting. And that's because it is very hidden, it's not obvious. But if I scroll back up and click on this more button right after the pixel and the conversion event, there is my attribution setting. So first let's read Facebook's own definition of what it is. So the attribution setting is a finite period of time during which conversions can be credited to your ads and used to inform campaign optimization. For example, with a 7-day click setting, our system will learn from conversions that happen within 7 days and show ads to people most likely to convert within 7 days. Multiple attribution settings can be selected for your reporting. You can do more details when you compare attribution settings in the campaign table. All right, so let's break that down a little bit. Most people only read or know about the first part of that definition, where it's going to count the conversions your campaign experiences over the last 7 days. Meaning if someone clicks on your ad on a Monday, they don't actually opt into your lead or purchase until Friday because it's still within a 7-day window. That lead or purchase will still show up inside of Facebook Ads Manager. So anything that happens within 7 days, as long as they click the ad or view the ad, if you have that view through conversion, it'll go back and attribute it to your Facebook campaign. So based off of that, you'd probably think, oh, I should always choose the 7-day attribution window, but that's actually not always the case. Let's go ahead and read and revisit the second part of that definition. So one thing to look very closely at right here is the line where it says our system will learn from conversions that happen within 7 days and show ads to people most likely to convert within 7 days. Meaning they will show ads to people that will take time for them to convert, and they may not show ads to people that will convert more quickly. So based off of that, the attribution setting is actually two things. It's not just the length of period that conversions will be attributed back to your campaign. In other words, the conversions that your campaign will get credit for. It also determines who actually gets to see your ads. People who take 7 days to opt in or buy something, or people who take 1 day to opt in or buy something. And if you think about that, that can make a huge difference inside of your campaigns. You can almost think about it as getting in front of the fast decision makers and the slow decision makers. And particularly, oftentimes, getting in front of the fast decision makers can be much more profitable for your business, depending on what it is that you are marketing and the price point of your product. So what are my guidelines right here? Well, I always actually tell people, no matter what, it comes down to testing, right? There are no universal truths inside of Facebook ads or any type of ads for that matter. However, because of the fact that the 1-day attribution setting and the 7-day attribution setting get in front of different people, fast versus slow, what I always tell people is that for anything that's free, a free lead magnet, a free webinar, a free challenge, whatever it might be, it usually is best to use the 1-day attribution setting because you're going to get in front of those fast decision makers. And for anything that's free, it doesn't require a lot of time and effort on someone's part to decide whether they want to opt into your free thing, right? It's not like they see your ad, see your free offer, and then they have to go home, talk to their spouse, ask them if it's a good idea to opt into your free webinar. You know, that doesn't happen, right? They're going to want to opt in right away, or they're going to leave the page and they're not interested at all. So you want to get in front of the fast decision makers, because if you choose the 7-day attribution setting, then you will get in front of those slow decision makers that like hem and haw, should I actually opt into this free thing? And that's not really what you want when you're optimizing for something that is free. Now, for something that is paid, it is going to depend, and there is a lot of testing to be done. Again, there's no universal truth, so definitely definitely try things out and see what works best for your business. But generally, when anything is under $50, I like to test the 1-day versus the 7-day. Sometimes the 1-day actually works better and I get in front of those impulse buyers and I get a lot of purchases and it's extremely profitable right out of the gates. Whereas with other items, the 7-day works better because maybe it is something that is new or different or unique to them and they're just not quite sure, or they're a little bit skeptical for whatever reason. And so it will take them 7 days to actually make that decision. And of course, if that's the case, I want the 7-day attribution window because I want my campaign to get credit for any conversions that happen over a 7-day period. Now, on the topic still of paid items, again, I see anything under $50. It's a little bit of a toss-up in terms of whether the 1-day or the 7-day is going to work. But generally speaking, please do your own testing, but generally speaking, anything that is under $30, I typically see the 1-day attribution setting work better, be more profitable, get more purchases. And then anything between $30 and $50, I typically see the 7-day attribution setting outperform that one. Now, what if you're optimizing for a purchase that costs more than $50? Well, then I can say with great certainty, you definitely just want to go with the 7-day attribution setting. I've never seen the 1-day attribution setting work better for something that costs more than $50. And that's because once you get beyond $50, for the vast majority of people, it's getting pretty pricey, right? Like $50 for some people, that still might be, you know, borderline impulsive buy. For the vast majority of people, it's not though, so they probably will have to think about it. But once you get beyond $50, $60, $70, $80, certainly $100, that's not an impulse buy in any way, shape, or form. People will have to think about it and consider whether or not they want to pull out their wallet and give you their hard-earned dollars. So anything above 50, definitely go with the 7-day attribution setting. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, but wait a minute, whether I do the 1-day or the 7-day, I'm not going to get a complete picture, particularly if I actually go with the 1-day, because let's say that you test the 1-day, whether it's something that's free or something that is paid, and the 1-day is getting you overall more purchases, you still might be thinking to yourself, but what about for the people that do take longer than 1 day? People take 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, or even all the way up to 7 days. I'm not going to see that inside of my Facebook Ads Manager, and therefore Facebook's not going to see those conversions, and therefore Facebook is not going to be able to optimize as well. Well, the good news is that even though 7 days is the maximum, or if you're choosing the 1-day attribution setting and you've done some testing and that is working better for you, you can actually still see what is going on with the attribution setting beyond the 1-day or the 7-day even. You can even go all the way out to 28 days to see what is actually being attributed back to your campaign by looking at the attribution settings in the columns. So in order to modify the attribution setting inside to look at different viewpoints, you go ahead, go to your columns and click on compare attribution settings right here. And then you can see all the attribution settings that you can select. I pretty much always ignore the 1-day view or 1-day engaged view. I'm more concerned about who actually clicked on my ad and then ultimately ended up converting. So if I click on the 1-day, 7-day, and 28-day, I can go ahead and click on apply all 3 comparisons. And I can see right here that in terms of the results between the 1-day and the 7-day and the 28-day, there is no difference at all. And that returns to the fact that this is something that is free. I am optimizing for a free webinar inside this campaign. It's not going to take people multiple days to make this consideration. They're going to click the ad, make the decision right then and there, or they're going to leave, which is, again, that is why I like to use the 1-day attribution setting for anything that is free. I want to get in front of those fast decision makers to get more conversions and also faster results. But in case you're curious, you can always come back and do this type of comparison to see if you happen to be getting people taking a little bit longer to make that final decision. Now, what about a purchase? What if you're optimizing for a 1-day attribution setting for a purchase event? Do you still get to see, or do you want to be able to see anyone that takes longer than 1 day? Well, you still can do that with the attribution settings. So taking a look at this example right here, I am optimizing for purchases in this campaign, and right off the bat, we can see there is a pretty substantial difference between the 1-day, 7-day, and 28 days. So even though this is optimizing for the 1 day, if I go to 7 days, the purchase volume goes from 775 all the way to 817. And then if I go from the 7-day all the way to the 28-day, I go from 817 to 821. And that obviously has a downhill effect in terms of the cost per purchase. If I'm looking at the 1 day, it's a $49 cost per purchase, 7 days it's a $47, and then a 28-day, it's a $46 cost per purchase. So even when you are optimizing for the 1 day or even the 7-day for that matter, you still get the data available to see the total impact that your ads are having over the course of 28 days. Now, what happens if someone clicks on your ad and they don't buy until 6 months later? Well, unfortunately, you don't have that kind of data available. That will be way too long for any type of platform to measure. So the maximum that you can look at here is 28 days. So there are my overall guidelines and recommendations implications when it comes to the attribution setting. Again, it is much more than just how many conversions will you be seeing over the course of a 1 day to 7 day period. It also impacts who actually sees your ad. Like I said, my general guideline is for anything that's free, use the 1 day. For anything that's under $50, test between the 1 day and the 7 day. And for anything that is above $50, go ahead and use the 7 day. So I hope you found this video helpful and that it distilled a lot of the confusion around the attribution setting, what it actually is, and what the best choice is for your campaigns. But as always, if you have any questions about this video, go ahead and leave a comment below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.